Hello and welcome again to our Gems of the Alshich. We're at the Seder of Chaye Soro. Sora's life is over. She has achieved everything she needs to achieve. And in the 10 tests of Avrohom Avinu, as we mentioned last week, the ultimate test was the binding of Isaac. According to everybody except one opinion, and that opinion is a rather major opinion, Rabbeinu Yonah of Gerodno says no. The 10th test, the ultimate test, was Avram having to struggle to find a place to bury his wife Soro, which obviously logically makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, for a husband to lose his wife after such a long marriage obviously is tragic. But one of the reasons it says here that Avram comes to bury his wife, Uliv Koso, and the cough has got a little cough, is because she had such a full and long life, a life full of achievement, indeed holiness. It wasn't such a sad event. It was a fully realized life. And a fully realized life is a nice thing to have. So Avrohom Avinu is not so upset. Distressed, but not so upset. Therefore, why could this be comparable and even supersede the commandment to take your son, your only son, whom you love, cut his throat, and burn his body to a crisp? It seems a contrast which is baffling, to put it mildly. So, in answering this, the Alshich says some very brilliant things, but we'll have to look at the verse. Remember, the Alshich technique is to look at every single word. So, here is the story. Those who are following in our art scroll, it's in page 106. For those who've got other books, it's in chapter 23. And it says the following thing. Avram comes to bury Soro. And when he comes, he appears or comes to the people in the city he'd been living with. Let's get into the story. V'yokem Avram ibnei Mesoi. Avram gets up from his dead wife. V'yadaber ibnei Chaye lemor, and he speaks to the people of Chaye, a place, and he says, "Ger b'toshev anochi imachem. I'm a stranger with you. Tenuli achuzas kever. Give me a burial place imachem ve'ekbar mesi v'lefonai, so I can bury my dead wife." And of course, he wants a specific place. He wants the cave of Machpelah because Avram's predecessor, Adam, his wife's predecessor, Chaye, Adam and Eve, are buried there. And the Kabbalistic books say that they were reincarnations. They were here in order to put right, or to start putting right the damage done by Adam and Eve and their mistakes. So he wants that particular place. It's a special place. Listen, they say, no, listen, my master, you're a prince of God in our midst. From the very best places. Kvar, bury, es, aleph, sof. The Hebrew letters aleph, the first letter, and the last one, sof. Es, mesecha. Bury your dead. Now, the word es means something. It normally translates as a zero. It's got no translation. If you have to translate it, we usually translate it as with. But even though it doesn't normally translate, it's obviously there for a function, for a purpose, and it means that something apart from the topic, the subject being discussed in the verse, is included in the concept of the verse. So, for example, it says, Es Hashem Elokecha Aleph Sof, Es Hashem Elokecha Tiro, you'll fear the Lord your God. And then it says, Es, so who else can you fear as much as God? Because we only have a little time. There was something called Shimon HaMsuni who went through every Aleph Sof, every word Es in the Torah, explaining what was included, what was additional to the subject, the topic, the verse was being addressed by the inclusion of the word Es, until they came to the word, the Lord your God you will fear. Es Hashem Elokecha you should fear. Who can you fear as much as God? And he abandoned his life's work. Along came Rabbi Akiva and he said, no, he explained it means you should fear Talmidei Chachamim, you should fear Rabbanim as much as you fear Hashem. In a sense, as it were, they're an illustration, they are a key that opens the door to see Hashem. That's the idea. So Es means something in addition. So he says he'd like to bury his wife, and they say, take. Nobody will withhold Es Kvarecha. If you want to bury Es Mesecha, your dead Soro, or anybody else in your family, nobody will withhold their burial places. So let's read that again. He says, they reply to him after he says to them, I'd like to bury Soro. And they say, bury, no problem. You're a prince of God. But mifcha kavarena kvar es mesecha. from the very, very best burial places, choose to bury es mesecha, not just the dead Sora, but your whole family. None of us will withhold our burial place from you, mikvar mesecha, from burying your dead. V'yokim Avram yishtakol la'amaris, and he bows down to the people. V'yadar b'tam lemor im yishas nasaseg l'kvar es mesi. If I can bury indeed es mesi, then the place I would like is the place of a fellow called Ephraim ben Zohar. Ephraim ben Zohar is sitting there the whole time, and this is how it continues. Ephron Yoshev Besoch Beneches. Verse 10, he was sitting there the whole time. The Yan Ephron the Chiti, and Ephron the Chiti, the Hittite, replies to Avram, Ozni Beneches, so the people can hear him. L'kol bo shar ira, anybody coming in and out of the city, Lo adani shemeni shadi nasati lo chamara asher bo locho nasati. No. The field, I'll give it to you. And the cave that's in the field, you can have it. In the eyes of my people, Nasati, I give it to you, kfor mesech, bury your dead. Not kfor, es mesecha. The others said you could bury es mesecha, not just Sora, but any of your dead, your children as well. You can have possession to bury your dead, which was against their rules for somebody who was only a green card, only a temporary resident, to actually have a burial place. He wants them to bend the rules. This guy seems so nice. No problem. You can have it for free to bury just Sora, which Avram had made it quite clear he wanted to bury Es Mesecha, or they'd offered Es Mesecha to bury the rest of his family as well, which is his purpose and his ambition. So Avram bows down to the people again. B'yadaber Ephron, he replies to Ephron, Ba'ozni Omer, so the people can hear Lemor, Ach imi ato shemaini, if you listen to me, nosete kesef sodi, I'll give you a proper price. Not free gift, a proper. Kach me, take it from me. The Egbera Es Mesi Shama. And I'll bury Es Mesi. Not just Sora, but the rest of my family. Yan Ephron is Avram, and Ephron replies to Avram, Lemar lo sedim, Adoni, my master. Shemaini eretz arba meis kesef b'nei v'ncho. A piece of land worth 400 silver coins. Between you and I, what's that? The Es Mesecha Kfor. The S. To bury the whole family? Es Mesecha. Now, of course, in English translation, this will not work. The S won't appear. It's a particularly unique Hebrew word that functions in a Hebrew sentence. But this is the first time that Ephron, the guy selling the field and the cave, has said S. You can bury the rest of your family there. If I get 400 silver coins. The value, in actual fact, of that cave, that field, was 14. This is an exaggeration of an incredible amount of money. But it's the first time he's used the word S. Avram hears this, Avram understands this, and he gives them, without haggling, without any argument, he gives them the 400 silver coins. Fantastic. And the field belongs to Avram. That's the story. Why is that so important? Well, the Alshich pointing out what's really going on here answers our question we had. Why is this, or could this be seen as the ultimate test of Avram Avinu? After all, surely having reached the 10th, or the level of taking your son, that people consider the 10th level, and sacrificing, willing him to sacrifice him to God, isn't that reaching the highest level? Yes, in a spiritual sense. But what about a sense of this world as well? What do I mean? Look, if you go to a very, very holy rabbi, a holy person, and ask for a blessing, or tell them your struggles and your problems because you're upset because something happened in business, you don't have enough money, or you get this, or somebody slighted your respect, your self-respect, and he says to you, why does that upset you? Because it wouldn't upset him. He doesn't get you. This is the ultimate test of Avram Avinu, for the very simple test, a very simple fact, that he's passed the test of taking his son after all the other tests, willing to sacrifice him to God. That puts him on a spiritual level, which is... But he's still, even though he's got his head in the heavens talking to the angels, he's still got his feet planted firmly on the ground. He still knows how to deal with a crook, a fraud, someone who wants to appear as the big philanthropist, the big giver, but really wants to sell at an incredible profit. And everyone knows how to deal with this guy. The really holy people are able to deal with angels and speak to angels and speak to ordinary people with ordinary problems at the same time, people like myself. If I went to Avram Avinu, he would say, oh, that's your problem? I understand. It's not his problem, but he understands my problem. He understands people who are still in this world, who are not up there. A real tzaddik, a real great, has to be his feet on the ground, with his mind and his heart in heaven at the same time. They existed then, and they exist today as well. Wish you a good Shabbos.